I do want to address the tragic situation that we saw in Minneapolis today that unfolded on the streets. It occurred with DHS law enforcement as they carried out their lawful duties to keep Americans safe in the threat of criminal illegal aliens in this country. At 9:05 a.m. Central Time, the Department of Homeland Security law enforcement officials and officers were conducting targeted operations in Minneapolis against an illegal alien whose criminal history included domestic assault with intentionally inflicting bodily harm, disorderly conduct, and driving without a valid license. An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently. Fearing for his life and for the lives of his fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots. Medics were on the scene immediately and attempted to deliver medical aid to the subject, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect also had 2 magazines with ammunition in them that held dozens of rounds. He also had no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at the scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement. When you perpetuate violence against a government because of ideological reasons and for reasons to resist and perpetuate violence, that is the definition of domestic terrorism. This individual who came with weapons and ammunition to stop a law enforcement operation of federal law enforcement officers committed an act of domestic terrorism. That's the facts.
The message is really clear and straightforward. We need ICE out of Minnesota. They are not making us more safe. As the tragic killing this morning, as people saw it viscerally on that video, shows us, they are making us less safe.
And we are once again now being asked to deny what we saw with our own eyes. We watched the videos of a masked federal agent shooting Alex in the back multiple times while he was pinned down by more than 6 other masked federal agents. And once again, DHS has come out with a predetermined narrative that contradicts everything we saw with our own eyes. 2 37-year-old Minnesotans are now dead, a poet and a nurse. For what? We cannot lose any more lives. We need a full, transparent, and comprehensive investigation led by our BCA. And ICE and Border Patrol need to halt all operations in the state and leave immediately.
Minnesota and our local law enforcement, as you have seen, have done everything possible to de-escalate. Local media has reported extensively on the cooperation to de-escalate this situation. Donald Trump, I call on you once again. Remove this force from Minnesota. They are sowing chaos and violence. We've seen deadly violence from federal agents again and again and again. But in contrast to that, on these frozen streets, what you witnessed yesterday was the best of Minnesotans, peacefully exercising their First Amendment rights.
Nobody in the White House, including President Trump, wants to see people getting hurt or killed in America's streets. This includes Renee Good, Alex Preddy, the brave men and women of federal law enforcement, and the many Americans who have been victimized at the hands of illegal alien criminals. Saturday's shooting remains under active investigation by Homeland Security Investigations and the FBI. The Customs and Border Protection is also conducting their own internal review. As President Trump said yesterday, the administration is reviewing everything with respect to the shooting, and we will let that investigation play out. But let's be clear about the circumstances which led to that moment on Saturday. This tragedy occurred as a result of a deliberate and hostile resistance by Democrat leaders in Minnesota. For weeks, Governor Walz and the Mayor Jacob Frey and other elected Democrats were spreading lies about federal law enforcement officers who are risking their lives daily to remove the worst criminal illegal aliens from our streets: murderers, rapists, pedophiles, human traffickers, and gang members.
With regards to the deployment of Tom Homan to Minneapolis, should the deployment of Mr. Homan to Minneapolis be seen as a sign that the president is dissatisfied with how the officials on the ground had handled the incident?
No, Mr. Homan is doing an exceptional job, and he has been working with Secretary Noem and President Trump over the course of the last year. Secretary Noem still has the utmost confidence and trust of the President of the United States, and she's continuing to oversee the entire Department of Homeland Security and all of the immigration enforcement that's taking place across the whole entire country.
Do you agree with the assessment from some of your own officials that Alex Preddy is a domestic terrorist or an assassin?
Well, I haven't heard that, but certainly he shouldn't have been carrying a gun. But hey, look, bottom line, everybody in this room, we view that as a very unfortunate incident, okay? Right. Everyone, unless you're a stupid person, very, very unfortunate incident. I don't like that he had a gun. I don't like that he had 2 fully loaded magazines. That's a lot of bad stuff. And despite that, I say that's a very unfortunate incident.
So we are here today because we have a full-blown, dangerous emergency unfolding in Minnesota. It is happening right now as I speak, and we need your help to end it. America needs your help. The nation has been appalled by what we have seen happening in our state of Minnesota, the stories that have captured everyone's attention. So this is happening in Minnesota, but this is not just Minnesota. I think because Minnesota has resisted so strongly and because the tactics of Operation Metro Surge have been so brutal that we have gotten so much of the attention. But this is not just a Minnesota problem. I ask you, colleagues, to consider how these dangerous and poorly trained and unaccountable ICE agents have been treating Americans who have been exercising their constitutional right to peacefully speak and to demonstrate. These Americans have been intimidated, they have been taunted, they have been beaten, they had even been killed. We've seen the images of people being maced at point-blank range. You can see this in the final pictures of Alex Preddy before he is killed. We know that they are tracking demonstrators with facial ID technology, following them home to intimidate them. And in fact, I've heard stories of demonstrators who have been led home by ICE agents so that those agents are communicating, we know where you live, we know who you are, we want you to be quiet.
I don't have a problem with the ICE officers. I have a problem with their leadership right now.
Yeah, and you've been very clear about Kristi Noem needing to go. I'm wondering, are there a lot more Republican senators who feel the same way you do but just haven't vocalized it?
I'm not going to speak for other members, but sometimes you can get a read by the silence. I don't know a lot of people that are going out there and saying that she's receiving high marks and she should be praised for her work. I mean, this is amateur hour. Her and Stephen Miller are just proving time and time again, day after day, they're doing a disservice to this president. And I now realize it's not a conscious decision on their part. They're just simply incompetent.
Instead of holding his own administration accountable for lying about Alex Preddy, Donald Trump continues to blame Alex Preddy for his own death. He said yesterday Preddy should not have been carrying a gun. The president seems to have forgotten the words of the Second Amendment, quote, "The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." Apparently for Donald Trump, if you're a Trump supporter, it's okay to be a lawful gun owner. But if you're against Donald Trump, it's not. You don't have that right. Finally, it's outrageous that Kristi Noem still has a job in the administration after federal officers murdered 2 American citizens in just 2 weeks. And it is even more disgusting that on each occasion, Kristi Noem lies about what took place. For the good of the country, Donald Trump needs to fire Kristi Noem at once. Noem is a liar, Noem is incompetent in her job, and she must go. Many Republicans here in Congress agree that Kristi Noem has lost the trust of the American people. Donald Trump needs to recognize that the tide has turned against her and that her presence does far more harm than good at this point. Donald Trump needs to show Kristi Noem the door and send her packing.
I've been on the ground less than 3 full days. I got in here Monday. President of the United States called me Monday morning and asked me to deploy here. Got here Monday evening, and I'm staying till the problem's gone. In the past few days, I've met with Governor Walz, Attorney General Ellison, Mayor Frey, numerous police chiefs and sheriffs, and I have more to meet. I'll also be continuing the dialogue with business and religious leaders in partnership with Minnesota, your communities. I'll be meeting with them too because I want to hear what they have to say. In my meetings with folks so far, and most importantly the governor and the AG, the Mayor Fry, we didn't agree on everything. I didn't expect to agree on anything. I've heard many people want to know why we're talking to people who they don't consider friends in administration. Bottom line is you can't fix problems if you don't have discussions. I didn't come to Minnesota for photo ops or headlines. You haven't seen me. I came here to seek solutions, and that's what we're going to do. And we've come a long way.